Welcome to another episode of Yesterday's Capers. I'm Abdullah Moallim, and every week I'll be bringing you the very best shows from the past that the world has to offer. Happy Women's History Month. That's right, it's girl power all day, every day, and we'll be looking back at some pretty awesome TV shows and cartoons starring some iconic women. It's the last Women's History Month episode, and we are going out with a bang as we talk Ocean Girl and Emily of New Moon. And we take a special look at Xena, the warrior princess. Told you we're going out with a bang. Yay! So, let's get started. Yes, do you feel the power of a woman? I'm going to miss hearing that this month. Are you, Paul?
Yeah, it's been a good month, I think. It's always a shame when we say goodbye to these celebratory months, you know.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously we'll talk about Xena later, but that Xena cry, it's more annoying than I thought it was gonna be.
'Cause the thing is, it's like an Arabian war cry kind of thing, isn't it? I don't quite kind of know where it's what's it about.
I don't think it's Arabian or
Yeah. If
from
you
that
think
part of the world.
if you think like for the Arabian war cry, that's what they do, right?
I don't know.
I'm sure that's what they do. I mean, I haven't been to war with them, so I don't really know firsthand. But
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't think they do, but yeah, we'll talk about it obviously later. But it's a lot more annoying than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. So before we start the show, I know you're a big Formula One fan,
Oh my God, Drive to
and
Survive you're going to talk about.
well, no, Murray
Oh.
Walker was what I was. Gonna talk about.
Man, this is like that came as a complete shock. I mean, obviously he was getting on a bit, wasn't he? Was he 97 or 93?
It was in his 90s, definitely.
I mean, obviously, like you got to say, like Murray Walker, absolute legend of the sport. There's no one that even comes close to the passion that he delivered on the mic. Like I said, he was getting on a bit, but it came as a complete shock to me because I didn't even know that he was sick, you know, or even if he was sick. But anyway, yeah, like it's an absolute tragedy for the sport. Yeah, I mean, I've read his book. I've obviously grown up listening to him. I remember being really sad when he left Formula One, and to be honest, it's never really been the same since. It's never really felt the same. I don't really know what to say. It's such a sad.
I mean, yeah, you say that he's a big icon of Formula One. I mean, he was a big icon of British sports. He was for me like the voice of British sports in the 90s, like the voice of my childhood. When I think of like commentators, I think of like him. I think of Brian Moore with the football. Like he's like one of those voices that you like never ever forget. I think there was a video that was doing the rounds where he was like choking up when Damon Hill.
Oh yeah, and I've got to stop because I've got a lump in my throat. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, when that's like I was watching that video, I was like, whoa, this is.
Yeah, I can't remember the race, but I remember Damon Hill crossing the line.
Yeah, and he wins his first world title. I mean,
yeah,
look,
1996, I think it was.
I ain't the biggest Formula One fan, but even I knew who Damon Hill was, and obviously all the other main sort of characters:
Hill, Mansell, Lauda, Hunt,
Rubens Barrichello, Mika Hakkinen, David Coulthard. Oh, I think you mentioned Michael Schumacher as well. But obviously, yeah, it was that was when I think Formula One, and you had the Chain, Fleetwood Mac as the theme song. It was obviously like the height of like British sports, I think, in the 90s, and Murray Walker was obviously a big part of that. And he was obviously, like I said, he's a big part of my childhood in terms of like the voice and go, and
yeah. I mean, I would recommend anyone reading his book too. He's got a really great autobiography out, and obviously it's quite old now. I mean, it was old when I bought it, but it's actually really, really good read and a great insight into just how much he knew. Because a lot of people just think, oh, he knew Formula One, but he used to race motorbikes. He was in World War II. He's been commentating on everything. Everything that has an engine in it, he's commentated on. His knowledge was unparalleled in the motor racing world.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's someone that will be definitely missed. And there was some even more grim news in America when some guy I think went to sort of Asian massage parlors and Asian businesses and shot them up. Yeah, I think 8 women died, and I don't know if they were all Asian. I think like mass majority of them, I think maybe 6 were at least of Asian descent, and they were women.
It's also worth noting that it wasn't a terrorist attack though, because he wasn't the right skin tone for it.
No, it was a fetish that he had.
Yeah, I mean, this was obviously disgusting, and it's one of those things. I mean, we've covered quite a lot of tragedy this month, and just seems to go
Well,
on.
I think the police were saying, "Oh, he had a bad day. That's why he did what he did. Had a bad day, so yeah. So what I'm gonna do? I've had a bad day. So what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get a gun and target women of a certain background because you've got some kind of fetish."
This is all gonna come back to America's gun laws, isn't it? I mean, I know they've got the whole the right to bear arms or whatever in their constitution, but come on, man. I mean, it's got to be hard to go and
That
shoot
stuff
someone
is
up, isn't
so
it?
old. That
Yeah,
Constitution stuff, it's old. But you know what? What I said was America literally sucked it up and just sort of let it go when they shut up those kids in Sandy Hook. If they didn't do gun laws and amend gun laws then, they're never ever gonna do it. You could have million gun related stuff like this that will never after Sandy Hook, they will never ever change it. Never. Forget about it. If you can like unconscionably like go and carry on life, even when you've seen a guy go to a school and shoot up little kids and then just kind of say, you know what, we're not going to do anything after that. You're never going to do anything. Never.
yeah, it's true. What can you say, man? These people are sick, and if you're not going to do anything about it, how are you protecting your citizens? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to stuff like that, in my opinion, obviously, I'm a nobody, but you've got to have like a one rule to fit all kind of situation, not a but it's only the few that are letting everyone else down. Everyone else, why do you need a gun like that?
Yeah. And what were we? 25th, 25 years since Dunblane in the UK. And obviously, Dunblane was like a moment for us to be like, yeah, that's it. We can't be about that gun life. That's what it took in this country. Dunblane, where the guy shot up all of those kids. And you know what? I saw a bit of the documentary that what's her name? Lorraine Kelly did. I never realized how young those kids were. They were like 4, 5 years old. 4, 5 years old. And like it was like a whole classroom of them and a couple of teachers who were killed. And obviously that made everybody or made the powers that be in the whole of United Kingdom say, you know what, we need to pass some kind of regulation. Obviously, yeah, in America it's a lot more complicated, and obviously this guy who did what he did, I mean, he's a terrorist, and it's crazy because anti-Asian like crimes and anti-Asian sentiment has kind of like gone on the rise since the coronavirus. You literally had the sitting president of the United States calling it the China virus, Kung flu, and all of this stuff. And what the hell is the normal citizen going to be? But obviously, anti-Asian sentiment. This like runs deep in America. This is like long before coronavirus, when I think Chinese immigrants. I didn't even know all of this stuff. So like Chinese immigrants were in America since the 1800s, and they were like massacred because they thought that they were bringing some kind of flu again. Obviously, in World War II, you had the internment camps for Japanese people. So what they did was after Pearl Harbor, they literally put Japanese people in this town in America, just put them in some internment camp until the war ended. If you want to talk about South Asian sentiment after 9/11 and how hate crimes against like people who even look Muslim. It's how people saying, "Oh well, Islamophobia is not it's not racism, but it's like you attack a Sikh person because you think he looks Muslim." You attack Indian people because you think he looks Muslim. That's racism to me. And obviously now with this stuff, and you got, like I keep saying, the sitting president of the United States was talking like this, and you had a lot of people who would be sending jokes and things like that about Chinese people and the coronavirus, and it's like, what do you think is going to happen when you keep all this kind of stuff?
Yeah, inciting racial hatred. Surely, I mean, that's a crime. No.
Yeah, yeah. At the very least, this was a hate crime, and this was a targeted hate crime. So yeah, there you go. Right, let's get on with the show now, and we're gonna start with Ocean Girl, and this show came out in August 1994, and some of the things happening in the world. Groups of protesters spread from Havana's Cuba's Castillo de la Punta, Point Castle, creating the first protest against Fidel Castro's government since 1959. Woodstock 94 begins in Saugerties, New York, and it is the 25th anniversary of Woodstock in 1969. The Russian army leaves Estonia and Latvia, ending the last traces of Eastern Europe's Soviet occupation. Clear and Present Danger is in the cinemas, and Stay, I Missed You by Lisa Loeb was #1 in the charts. So yeah, Ocean Girl was an Australian sci-fi TV series aimed for family audiences, starring Marzena Godecki as the lead character. The show is set in the near future and focuses on an unusual girl named Neri who lives alone in an island, and the friendship she develops with the inhabitants of an underwater research facility called Orca, or the Oceanic Research Centre of Australia. And the show is an example of deep ecology science fiction, and in Ocean Girl inspired an animated series, The New Adventures of Ocean Girl, which ran from 2000 to 2001. And the animated series is in a distinct reboot separate from the original live action show. In the UK, the show was broadcast under the title Ocean Odyssey, and it used to come on BBC Two. Now I remember Ocean Odyssey, but I never used to think it was called Ocean Girl.
Yeah, the name rings a bell now. You said that.
Yeah, Ocean Odyssey. I remember it used to come on BBC Two, but I never really used to watch it. And Common Sense Media gave the show a rating of 4 out of 5 stars, saying, and I quote, "The plot is almost as complex and twisty as Lost, and the action is crackling and non-stop. The mysteries are many, and the lead character Neri is enchanting. Any scene where she appears are pretty much guaranteed to be cool." And the show was given a user rating of 8.3 out of 10 on TV.com based on 132 votes. So yeah, Neri is a young girl with an affinity for water, the ability to swim long distances, and superhuman lung capacity. She lives alone on a deserted island and sleeps in a nest in a tree. And she befriends 2 Australian boys, Jason and Brett Bates. And the Bates brothers live in Orca. And as the series progressed, it is revealed that Neri came to Earth on a spaceship with her father when she was young, though his death soon after the ship's crash left Neri to fend for herself. Prior to meeting Jason and Brett, Neri's only friend was a humpback whale, who she names Charlie. And as Neri gradually discovers more of her island and Orca, she also begins to understand her greater purpose. This self-awakening is particularly enhanced by encounters with others of her kind. And in the second season, she discovers her sister, Mira, and the two are given the opportunity to return to their home planet. Mira avails herself of this option, but Neri stays, feeling that she must discover what her father was trying to do on Earth. And in the third season, she gains entry into the downed spacecraft that originally brought her to Earth. There, she finds another of her people in suspended animation. The new character, Cal, proves to be the son of the commander of the vessel and helps her tap into the ship's memory core. She finds the ship's log in which Cal's mother explains that Neri's father was there to repair the damage done to the Earth's oceans with an advanced device called the Synchronium. She then dedicates her life to her father's cause, giving her a genuine sense of purpose that she had perhaps lacked earlier in the series. So let's talk about Ocean Girl or Ocean Odyssey.
So it's an Australian one. So obviously, I was quite pleased with that. It's a kind of cool show about a very mysterious girl and a futuristic kind of research lab, which I thought was quite cool. I'm not sure about how you found it because I was like, they land on that little ship thing, and then they descend into the ocean with this like kind of colony under the ocean. I thought that was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, when you say it like that, it is pretty cool, and I never really never took notice of the fact that it was kind of set slightly into the future. I just kind of took it for what it was and watched it.
Yeah, I mean, what I liked is the kind of SeaWorld stuff where when you walk through the tunnels and you can see the sea and stuff like that. I thought that was awesome. And then little guy Brett waving at the guy just chilling out in the sea. Yeah, I thought it was quite a cool little. I thought it was very cool concept. Yeah, I thought it was pretty well delivered. And like I said, the Australian thing, so like quite dear to my heart anyway.
I definitely get the Lost reference. I feel like this is an investment show. Like you have to actually invest in this show, and you can't really sort of skip and take shortcuts and just kind of sort of jump in and jump out.
I mean, I wrote Castaway references because I never watched Lost, but obviously watched Castaway, and I thought. Thing is, I remember I started to watch Lost and thought that it was just going to be like a series like Castaway, um, but how wrong was I? And yeah, Lost was rubbish for me.
It wasn't rubbish, but
It was
I think the problem with
wasn't
Lost
good
was
though.
it was very good. Lost was actually outstanding in the end, but I think what the problem with Lost was it was some of the storylines were too complicated, and it's one of those where they're telling you, look, trust us, stick with us, and it will be worth it. And more often than not, some of the audience might think, you know what? No, I don't trust y'all. Get to the point, or we're not interested. And obviously, Lost were like, look, we're gonna stick with this. This is what we're trying to do. This is what we're doing. And for 90% of the time, I got it, and it was brilliant. But obviously, for me, the 10% was just okay. What the hell is this? Oh, what the hell happened there? Who's this guy? Oh, I thought that guy died in season 3. What the hell is he doing back in season 5?
Yeah, it's like
Are
me
they ever
watching
going
The
to
Tribe.
leave this island and things like that? Yeah, the tribe. Oh, good times, good times. But I like this show enough. I thought it was good enough.
What I liked is it was quite a simple show. There wasn't much.
I don't think it was simple. It got complicated.
Well, I mean, I didn't watch it. We were talking about Ocean Girl still, right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, I didn't get to the complicated bit because I only watched the first couple of episodes of the first series, but I liked where it was going, and there wasn't too much character development going on. It was literally girls friends of a whale, and some boys are reluctantly. Well, one of them was reluctantly going into the sea for 6 months or whatever it was. It kind of had a CITV feel about it. I'm not sure if you found. I know it's broadcast on the BBC, but I mean, what I'm talking about is like the actual delivery of the show.
Don't know what a CITV feel is.
I mean, it's like a kid's version of like. I'm going to contradict myself now, but it's like a kid's version of like Red Dwarf kind of thing. And I know that was broadcast on the BBC, but what I mean is,
It's nothing like Red Dwarf.
no, I mean what I mean is like the set and the kind of characters. It was a bit like kind of little bit wacky, and it had the weird. What was his name? The commander guy. And the kind of CITV sets. Maybe they borrowed the set from CITV. I don't know.
That'd be impossible because it's set in Australia. And if it's a CITV feel, then I would imagine it would be for like 2-3-year-olds. And everyone going, this is the ocean. And this is the big fish. And we call it a shark. That would have been a CITV feel back then. But no, this is a pretty good show. Let's go into episodes now. And the first episode was called "The Girl in the Sea."
Yeah, I didn't write the names of the episodes down as usual. So, a girl lives on a desert island. Then a helicopter comes over and lands on a big ship thing. And there's a family on the helicopter. Jason's a big boy, Brett's a little boy, and their mum's called Diane, and she's a marine biologist. They're met by Winston, who's an Indian guy, and he says a joke about being Indian as soon as they get on the ship. The ship is like the top side of an underwater base, and it's kind of super high tech, and it's super cool. Jason doesn't want to go there because he's got his mates and stuff like that, as any teenage boy would. So the kind of I put feral girl is kind of swimming about. She's kind of like
She's not feral, is she?
no, she's not, but she kind of looks a little bit ropey when
Did you
she's
write what Dr. Winston said to Jason as he was going in?
no, it's literally like how would I know? I'm Indian or something like that. That's
It's
the
like, oh,
punchline.
the cup smiles at the surface because it has seen the wonders of below. And obviously, he goes, "This is a Japanese expression," and he goes, "Oh, but I'm Indian."
Yeah. How am I supposed to know? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, because I think, oh, what does it mean? And he's like, "Oh, yeah, how am I supposed to know? I'm Indian," kind of thing.
Yeah. Um. So yeah. So she's living like Tom Hanks from Castaway. She's like completely self-sufficient, living off the land. She does her own fishing. She's eating off the land, kind of like the trees and stuff like that. And she's pretty handy with her survival techniques. So back into the base, the canteen, Brett gets food and then gets in with a girl called Zoe, and I think the guy was called Efren, but I'm not entirely sure. Cuts back to the girl. She's swimming with whales. She's a really good swimmer because she can swim from like in the deep ocean as well as the thing. And I thought that was pretty cool because if you've ever swum in the deep bit of the ocean, that's pretty scary. Just being in the water is quite scary. At night time, she's looking at the stars, and then Commander comes in and he stops. Oh, Jason's like practicing his crossbow, shooting his little tag onto the whale, and then the commander comes in and says, "No, kids are allowed to use the crossbow." And then she says, "But he's really good. Look," and he shoots a kind of bullseye. And he says, "Okay, but only you're allowed. No one else is allowed near you whilst you're using it." They're chasing a whale to tag it, and the girl can hear the whale's in distress, so she goes and sees what it's all about. Jason's kind of got like a target on the whale, but she pops up and says, "Don't shoot him! Don't shoot him!" And then he like kind of freaks out, and then the mum takes she disappears. The mum takes a crossbow and shoots the whale with it. It doesn't hurt the whale; it's literally just a tag, sits on him like a barnacle. The mum's like not happy with him, and she says, "Why did you hesitate?" And he says, "There was a girl." She doesn't believe him. Jason is determined to find the girl. So at the end, in episode 2, they're still looking. The girl wakes up and she's again living off the land. He says to Brett, "Don't tell anyone about the girl." And he goes, "I'm your brother. Why would I tell anyone?" And then he goes into the canteen. Everyone's laughing at him and throwing stuff at him. So Vanessa, this new girl, comes and she has to be partners with Jason on her projects. The kids prank Vanessa, but she gets her own back on Brett by making him stranded like on this little boat. And the kind of boat drives off by itself. It's automated and there's steering, and then it runs out of gas in the middle of nowhere in the ocean. Then there's there's like a big tropical storm hit, right? And if you've seen any film about a tropical storm hitting the island or whatever, take Jurassic Park for example, or hell breaks loose when this tropical storm hits, right? And the it cuts to the boat in the tropical storm, and it's like going up and down, just bobbing ever so slightly in the water. And I was like, that boat would be upside down if that was real. And anyway, so basically everyone kind of knows now that he's missing. The boat gets washed up on the island that Neri is based on, and he gets out and he starts exploring. He's thirsty, drinks some water, then he eats some berries to feed himself, but they're poisonous. She finds him and she whips up this antidote, and then she says what her name is. And then the girl hears the whale again, who seems to be in distress. So she knows that their people are kind of out looking for him. She puts him back on the boat and says, "Don't say anything about her." And then Brett tells Jason that he knows about the girl. And then and Jason says, "Don't worry, we'll find her and then we'll show everyone that we're not liars." And that was the end of episode 2. Like 2 pretty cool, fast-paced episodes. It didn't really get to the point where she was the main character in it yet, really. But yeah, definitely a good start for me anyway.
So I went all the way to season 3 and episode 1 called Danger in the Reef. And so yeah, basically Winston, that was his name. He calls Diane Dr. Diane, and it's a different Dr. Diane from the first 2 seasons.
She got recast.
Yeah, she did. I thought I was going crazy. I'm thinking, I swear that's not Dr. Diane. I swear that I was like, am I losing my mind here? Yeah, but she's being recast, and he's basically telling them that this company called Uberi have won the contract to construct Orca City, and they've got plans to threaten a nearby fish breeding ground. And Diana is Orca's new environmental officer, and she basically calls a halt to the construction and begins an environmental study on the site. And obviously, Brett is concerned about Neri, but Winston's saying, you know what, she's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. And yeah, so they're trying to collect samples on a dive, and Jason gets trapped under fallen debris, and a rescue party is basically assembled, but Neri comes just in time to save Jason as his air was about to run out. And yeah, so there's this evil doctor, and he basically wants to blow up all the fishes so that the corporation can carry on with their building. He tried to set a bomb, but Neri manages to get the bomb and basically throw it away. And Dr. Helgren, that's his name. And yeah, his plans are thwarted by the meddling Neri, and the tribunal rules in Diane's favor. And Helgren, Dr. Helgren, he basically warns Jason, look, you meddling kids, y'all not better get involved in my business. Otherwise, y'all gonna get got. That's how that episode ends. And then I went all the way to the finale called The Queen. So Neri's asleep, and she has a vision of her mother who tells her that it is her time. But Neri's obviously scared of what's going to come. And on the ocean planet, Shershiba, see, I told you it's going to get all weird now. And she gets taken prisoner by Garon on Malakat's order. These are basically new characters. And there's this big old virus that's happening. But obviously, she has a cure and is only going to release it if she's recognized as the leader. And Neri is basically, she comes to Orca and she's telling the Bates family that she's going to go to this pyramid. And Neri is asking Helen, or Helen, and they've been in contact with the underwater pyramid to ask it to allow her to enter the pyramid undetected. And the pyramid directs Neri to the Cave of Light in the outback. And in the underwater pyramid, Malakat is basically ordering the pyramid to destroy Orca. But Neri and Jason arrive, and just as it's about to finish, Shalamorn enters the central chamber and retakes control of the pyramid. And Malakat did not kill Shalamorn, but kept her in a state of suspended animation on the ocean planet as he schemed to take over. And then coming back to the ocean planet, Shershiba discovered this and set her free. And for the actions, Malakat has to be exiled, but pardons Shershiba since she brought the cure back to the ocean. And Neri is crowned as princess, heir to the throne, by her mother. Her mother was alive all along. And yeah, so Neri is basically told that she has to stay on Earth to unite their worlds together. And yeah, Jason's obviously happy because obviously they take a liking to one another, and his girl is staying, so he's obviously very thrilled about that. And that was Ocean Girl.
I thought this was pretty standard. Well, for me anyway, for the bit I watched was pretty easy to watch. TV show. I thought it was quite good.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. If you remember, if you know, if you don't know, Jason goes on to be in Neighbours. He plays the role of Oliver Barnes, I think it was. I remember him in Neighbours a lot. I was looking at him, I was thinking, where have I seen this boy? And Brett was in Round the Twist. He was the little brother.
Knew I recognised bloody Brett.
Yeah, I recognise Jason and Brett. I was like, I've seen these two before now. Yep. One went on to be in Neighbours, and I think the other was in Round the Twist before Ocean Girl. So There you go. Emily of New Moon now. And this show came out in January 1998, and some of the things happening in the world. The Lunar Prospector spacecraft is launched into orbit around the moon and later finds evidence for frozen water in soil and permanently shadowed craters near the moon's poles. 19 European nations agreed to forbid human cloning. The Drudge Report breaks the story about US President Bill Clinton's alleged affair with Monica Lewinsky, which would lead to the House of Representatives' impeachment of him. The Wedding Singer was in the cinemas, and Only If by Enya was in the charts. Can't go wrong with some of that relaxing hotel lobby music. Actually, you know, it's better than hotel lobby music. What am I thinking?
Hotel lift music.
No, Enya's better than that. Get her out of the hotel. Emily of New Moon now. So this was a Canadian TV series based on the Emily of New Moon series of novels by Lucy Maud Montgomery. And this is the story of a young orphan girl named Emily Starr, who is sent to live at New Moon Farm on Prince Edward Island with her aunts Elizabeth and Laura Murray and her cousin Jimmy after her father dies of tuberculosis. She makes friends with Elsie Burnley, Teddy Kent, and Perry Miller, the hired boy who Aunt Elizabeth looks down upon because he was born in Stovepipe Town, which is a poorer district. Each of the children has a special gift. Emily was born to be a writer. Teddy is a gifted artist. Elsie is a talented elocutionist. And Perry has the makings of a great politician. They also each have a few problems with their families. Emily has a hard time getting along with Aunt Elizabeth, who does not understand her need to write. Elsie's father, Dr. Burnley, ignores Elsie most of the time because of a dreadful secret concerning Elsie's mother. Teddy's mother is jealous of her son's talents and friends, fearing that his love for them will eclipse his love for her. And as a result, she hates Emily, Teddy's drawings, and even his pets. Perry is not well off as the other three, so his aunt Tom once tries to make Emily promise to marry Perry when they grow up, threatening that unless Emily does so she will not pay for Perry's schooling. Other unforgettable characters are Dean Jarback Priest, a quiet, mysterious cynic who wants something he fears is ever unattainable. Fiery Mr. Carpenter, the crusty old school teacher who's Emily's mentor and honest critic when it comes to evaluating her stories and poems. Simple cousin Jimmy, who recites his poetry when the spirit moves him. Aunt Laura, who is a kind aunt and strict, suspicious Aunt Elizabeth, who yet proves to be an unexpected ally in times of trouble. And it is similar, to the author's Anne of Green Gables series. It was first published in 1923. And similar to her earlier and more famous Anne of Green Gables series, the Emily novels depicted the life through the eyes of an orphan girl. Montgomery considered Emily to be a character much closer to her own personality than Anne, and some of the events which occur in the Emily series happen to Montgomery herself. Emily is described as having black hair, purpley violet eyes, elfin ears, pale skin, and a unique and enchanting slow smile. The three Emily novels are Emily of New Moon, which came out in 1923, Emily Climbs in 1925, and Emily's Quest in 1927. And the series follows Emily through her school years and her climb up the symbolic Alpine Path to becoming a successful author. Alpine Path is a phrase from a poem which was inspirational to her from a young age, her being the author. The later books also follow Emily through several romances and adventures. Emily is a heroine with love for the beauty in nature and art, loyalty to her friends, a thirst for knowledge, and a passionate dedication to her writing. So, Emily of New Moon.
This was a period drama. It was very atmospheric. I thought that the period was captured beautifully. I thought the acting was pretty damn good. It was quite a definitely drew you in, this TV show. I'm not sure if you found that.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously it's long. It's about almost 50 minutes long.
And that's straight up 50 minutes as well. That's not with breaks.
Yeah, yeah. So you can imagine on the other side of the Atlantic, sitting through all of those commercial breaks, it would have been at least an hour and a half of your time. And I know it's bad practice for us to not watch as many of these episodes as we possibly can, but yeah, I just think times are different now. Obviously, back then, I probably would have sat through this show and thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, this is a an investment TV show, so you have to like invest a lot of time to watch it. Obviously, if you were a fan of the books, then you will probably be a fan of this. Yeah, I think it might actually be our first period drama, or at least like our first sort of period antebellum drama. At
Yeah.
least until we do Little House on the Prairie. Please tell me you know Little House on the
Yeah,
Prairie.
no, of course I know it. Yeah, but I mean,
I
to
was
be honest,
about to say.
it's not that I think period dramas aren't my cup of tea. That it's just I find them incredibly difficult to watch, which is contrary to my wife. She loves them, so I'm sit there like
I didn't have to sit through all of this mess and periods, dramas, and
I can see this being a good thing. You know, when there was nothing else to watch, you know, and you all sat down watching the same TV, doing the same thing every week. I can see this being a decent thing to watch. You know, because I say I don't like period dramas. I used to love Heartbeat.
was that be a period drama?
Yeah, it's like set in the 60s.
That's not period drama though.
Well, not this period, is it? So that counts.
But it ain't a
Um,
period drama as we know it.
no, I know, but it's not the Poldark or the what's it, Downton Abbey, or even
Downstairs. What's that called?
Upstairs Downstairs.
Yeah, there's one called Upstairs, Downstairs, isn't there?
Oh, I don't know. Like I said, this is not my genre. Yeah, I can't tell you how difficult it is for me to watch these.
Yeah, them kind of shows are period dramas, not something set in the 60s. The point is, right? I think period dramas is
It's got to be at least 100 years or so.
yeah, like we're talking like post
Brexit.
American, not well, not post Brexit, obviously, but like even pre Brexit, like pre Brexit, like this is like before World War One and after, between World War One and World War Two. So like I think The Crown initially was a period drama, but I think obviously once it progresses through the years, then it's not a period drama.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was set in the 60s. All right. Okay. Well, but anyway, I like the Heartbeat, but I didn't like Poldark, for
Yeah, any
example.
excuse to bring up Heartbeat in your case. I mean, look, yeah, like I said, if I was growing up, I probably would have sat through this and I probably would have enjoyed it because I think back then we had much better concentration spans.
And nothing else was
Obviously,
on. Let's not forget
yeah.
that. Nothing else was on. You couldn't flick over to Drive to Survive on Netflix, which is out now, season 3. Honestly, I know you don't like Formula One, and I know this is going off on a tangent, but Drive to Survive is out, and it's a roundup of the season. Do you know? Do you like The Last Dance, right?
Oh yeah. That's fantastic.
It's kind of shot the same and has the same kind of editing style of The Last Dance, but it's Formula One.
No, but I'd rather it be focused on one guy. So if it's like Michael Schumacher.
No, but it does. But it has focus groups. So it kind of does it on teams. So like, let's say like episode 1 will be on like Ferrari, even though Ferrari didn't do the first series. You know, episode 2 will be on Red Bull, and anyway, just even have a look through the trailer or the first intro of the thing. It's actually a damn good show. Like I said, season 3 out now. Drive to Survive, Netflix.
Sadly, this isn't a paid.
It's not a paid promotion. I just love it.
Back to this, and no more Formula One. I promise. I don't know what to say because it wasn't bad. Okay, it was 47, 50 minutes long. It wasn't bad. I did think it dragged on a little bit. I did think there were spells where it was pretty boring, but
I mean, it had some quite shocking moments on it as well, to be honest.
And look, okay, what can I say?
I can say something, and I was going to save this till the end of the end of my episode roundup. This is the single. I only watched one episode, the first episode. I think it was the first episode. This was the single most depressing first episode of anything I've ever watched ever.
Right, before I let you let loose on the first episode, look, we have done a couple of shows that were like 40, 50 minutes long, and they were pretty outstanding. I think the one that comes to mind is Freaks and Geeks. God, that was very, very, very good, and it was well worth putting that time in. I can't. I think Heartbreak High was another episode that we did that was 40, 50 minutes long. That was again really, really good. So it's one of those where I'm kind of comparing it with those kind of shows, and maybe it's not fair to do that to Emily of the New Moon. It's not fair because obviously it's a different kind of show. It's completely made different, but it was possible for me. Possible. There you go. It was possible.
I mean, look, the set design was great, costume was great, acting was great. You could, it definitely encapsulated the mood. I think just a very depressing time to be alive. So starts off, girls on the beach, and she's remembering. This is what kind of annoyed me. Right, straight out of the gate, this annoyed me because she's remembering something that may or may not have happened. Right, that's what she says in her
Sorry,
words.
the first episode is called Eye of Heaven.
Oh yeah, Eye of Heaven. So she's remembering something that may or may not have happened. Now that is a cop out for any writer of any TV show or anything. Oh yeah, this might not have happened, by the way. So if I change my mind, I can just change the perspective.
At least they're telling you.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't like it. So parents looking scared, they're holding the girl, then someone comes to the house, now someone's dead, right? That's how the first sequence played out for me. Now here's what really happened.
Emily's mum.
Yeah, so Emily's mum died, and what came to the house was the angel of death. I didn't know that until later. So the first bit was quite confusing and quite brutal to be like the first scene in the actual episode, someone gets killed by some geezer on a horse. She doesn't like the relatives who come for the funeral. She sees the ghost of her mother, and she goes after it to her grave, and then her dad comes and gets her, and she says, like, my mum's scared of the storm. And then she breaks the mirror and she thinks she's in for bad luck. And then dad's trying to explain death and grief to his daughter. So he's explaining what happened to her mum, and he's also explaining that she's grieving and this is kind of normal. And then she's explaining
I thought he did this so well.
Yeah, I know, but I was a bit like, oh, this is heavy. Like what?
But I think obviously this is what late 19th century. So obviously the kids were made of a lot more tougher stuff than 100 years later. The kids are made of. So I thought he did this bit really well, and I liked how he was saying to her, "Oh, so you saw your mom, did you? Oh, what does she look like?" And he was, he didn't like dismiss it, saying, "Oh, you're crazy." Talking about I've seen your mum, you've seen your mum. I'd be like, girl, you crazy? Like, get out of here, cool thing. But he was literally like explaining it to her, and he's saying, "Oh, okay, you saw her. How does she look like?" And it was very
it was a very touching moment. Yeah.
yeah, I really like this. Really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, the little girl, but just on a side note, reminds me of the little girl from as a movie called Paulie and the Bicentennial Man. There's a little girl in that with really curly hair, and she kind of reminds me of the girl of that. So, yeah, so this is where he explains that he thinks that the moon is the eye of heaven, so that when people die, they can look down on you. The girls in school, right, and all the girls are in school, and they're reciting the times tables, which is like, I still don't know my times tables.
I was doing it with the class. I was like, I ain't getting any of these wrong. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32.
See, I'm counting on my fingers after that. And then this little boy comes in, and he's a bit dirty, and he doesn't say anything, and the kind of teacher starts shouting at him. And this little boy's he said he's an Indian boy. And then he's being really horrible to his little kid. And then he says something about him being Indian. Then he says, all Indians have nits or something like that. And then the teacher starts beating him. And then Emily tries to stop him.
Oh, what's your name? Talk to me.
Yeah.
His name is Wokwis, by the way. Wokwis.
Yeah, I didn't write his name because every time they said it, I couldn't get it. I was like, what?
Wokwis. And that's how I kind of phonetically wrote it down in my head. Obviously, if I'm wrong, I apologize to the natives in Canada.
When Emily tries to stop him, she gets beaten up. And this is the bit that I absolutely loved. This is my favorite bit of the whole thing. Dad just goes up to the school and straight up
Well, no,
beats
because
him up.
obviously he's trying to like sort of like console Emily, and obviously he's like keeps moving.
Oh yeah, and she feels bruises on her back.
Yeah, and that's when he's like, okay, what the hell's been going on?
Yeah, goes straight up to the school and beats the teacher up, and then hangs him up on the bell thing. And I was like, straight up, like, yeah, if anyone lays a hand on your child, you're gonna go beat that person. Doesn't matter who they are. But it turns out that this guy is the head of the. He's on the board of the school, right? And the doctor's with him. He goes, yeah, but he's on the board, you know. And this is where I've pointed out that these two little words have paved the way for so much abuse in children, in women, and lots of other people. These two words, yeah, but these two words have just, and I'm talking in real life, have literally paved the way. Oh yeah, but he's this. Yeah, but he's that. Oh yeah, but he's just like that. You know, and so I was a bit like, yeah, that's kind of like a really well written piece of script there. Um, anyway, so the girl's playing with a little boy, and she's teaching him. She's teaching him the alphabet and stuff like that. And then Dad gets fired because of what he did to that kid. And then the little boy's teaching Emily how to send prayers, burn the prayers, and send them up in the smoke, kind of thing. Emily gets called. So basically, the whole family is being shunned by the village now because of what happened. And Emily's called a witch by this little girl, and the family's being shunned, and the shop won't even give the dad credit because he hasn't got any, doesn't have a job. And then the dad gets offered a job as a chief writer for for the Patriot newspaper, is it, or something like that? And basically, this is starting immediately, so they're gonna up six and go. And then um, he's talking to Emily, and she's very poetic in the way she speaks, and he wants her to be a writer now. She's like, start writing now because you're kind of damn good at it, kind of thing.
Look, she said, "Oh, I want to be a writer when I grow up." And again, more brilliant wisdom. He's like, "You're a writer now. Don't wait until later." And obviously, we're finding out, that he's really, really sick. And obviously, his doctor is basically warning him, "Look, I know you're sick. Stop lying to me and don't hide the pain." I think it's his tuberculosis, and obviously he's like to him, "Yeah, I know you're sick, and I'm going to give you these medicines and things like that." And yeah, that's when he gets offered the writer, and
So she's talking to herself, and she has this kind of thing where she hasn't got any friends, so she talks to herself in the mirror. And then she's writing this start, and then she's like ends up copying. I don't know what Charles Dickens novel this is, but she was copying the beginning of a Charles Dickens novel, and she kind of um
it might be David Copperfield.
yeah, I have no idea. It's the start of it's quite a famous start, but then she's like, don't do that one because that's copying basically. Uh, so they're about to leave, and then Dad has to get on the roof to collect the cat, and he has like this kind of heart attack sort of thing, and then he falls off the roof. Uh, and then the storm. This is where I understood what was going on before. So there's a storm again. The angel of death comes, and then she says, "No, you can't have him yet."
I was thinking, why the hell are you going up there getting that cat?
Yeah, the cat got up there. It can get down.
The cat will get down, not you, fool.
Yeah,
You're sick.
I won't climb on the roof to get a cat. If it get up there, it can get down, right? Unless it's been up there for a week, might start thinking about it. But so the dad's in a bad way, but he's not dead. He wakes in the night and he's kind of screaming. And then Harriet, this carer lady, has stolen the money that her mum left on there, and then the little girl, because everyone kind of thinks this little girl's like kind of a witch, and she says, "Like, I've got the evil eye. I'm going to put the evil eye on you if you don't give the money back." And this woman kind of freaks out and gives the money back that she stole. So the dad's going to die, and he says to her, "I'll be watching over you," and then just like straight up dies on the thing. And there's kind of a funeral, and Aunt Elizabeth is there, and the rest of the family she doesn't like. She's doing, and then so she's locked herself in a room with her dad, and she's kind of doing this Indian burial thing to send his spirit up. And then everyone's kind of talking about who's going to take her. She's under the table, listening but hiding, and they're talking about the cost and who's going to do the school and that. And they ended up deciding to draw lots on who's going to take the kid. Aunt Elizabeth is going to take her. She drew the short straw, and then she is not allowed to bring any of her stuff, not even the cat. And she throws the cat out of the what's it called, the cart, and then they drive off, and that's the end of the first episode. And like I said, that was relentless depressing. Like she had it tough from that first episode.
There's this cold world, as we found out in this opening episode. So yeah, there you go. And the finale, which was called "A Seller of Dreams." So yeah, so this is fast forward. Emily finishes her novel that she was writing, and she wants to take it to someone called Teddy. But Teddy's reluctant to talk about the novel, and eventually Emily's like, "Look, please tell me the truth about the novel." And then he says, "You know what? It's too descriptive. You're too descriptive. Red fire, the deep blue sky. Like, why are you doing the most? Like, you need to dial it down." Obviously, Emily is upset by the criticism, and then she takes it out on her cousin Elsa, and she's leaving because I think Elsa's going to a new town or whatever. And Emily's basically throwing her novel in the bin, and she's overhearing like Elsa and I think it's Dr. Ned and other people, and they're talking, going, yeah, Emily's really good. You should encourage her writing. She's great. I think at this point Aunt Elizabeth is not there. I think they're telling Aunt Laura, look, you need to tell her, encourage her. And then obviously Emily's like, okay, damn. And then there's a fire that's about to happen, and it's sort of close to the book. And so Emily's literally like running down the stairs, and then boom, she falls over a suitcase, falls down the stairs. She's out for the count. So she's having this dream about her novel. And there's a writer who's basically sitting there with an empty book going to Emily, you need to come and sit down, and we need to work on your novel. And so the author is telling Emily to talk about how she feels as an orphan, talk about her emotions. Obviously, she has to remember all of the emotions of her parents passing away, how her aunties, all of them lot feel. And she's having the flashbacks of when Aunt Elizabeth is telling her that she can't write again after she finds letters that Emily wrote, which is basically bad mouthing Aunt Elizabeth. The doctor's telling her family the next 24 hours are critical because she's not responding to any sort of pain. And back to the dream, the author's telling Emily about having to pick characters. You have to have real characters based on your life to write the best kind of story, and telling Emily about love and how that's important. And a man is giving Emily a blank book and pencils to write her stories. And the teacher, who I think Emily was like Emily's sort of mentor, is telling Emily that writing is a long-term compulsion. You have to want to be a writer all day, every day. And obviously, he was saying at the time it was different for women writers. I think he was talking about George Eliot was actually a lady, and sometimes I think women writers used to write male pseudonyms just to that they can get their books sort of put out there, because obviously sometimes during that period, if it was a woman writer, then they probably would have thought, yeah, I'm not going to read it. Emily's in a deep coma, and it looks like she does meet Charles Dickens, and she talks about her Aunt Elizabeth and how much she hates her. And Charles Dickens is like, you know what? I love this Aunt Elizabeth. She's great. She's a great, perfect character. When can I move in? Damn. And he's talking about her Aunt Laura, who's basically a fraidy cat. And Charles is telling Emily, look, you need to write about all of them. And then he leaves her David Copperfield. And she's imagining, I think, so she's basically imagining the death of her own dream. So, like, all of her things, so like her books, her pens, are committed to the ground. And then she remembers what her dad said about being a writer, and she comes around and she's wondering where the writer went to. and then she kind of decides that I'm going to call my novel Seller of Dreams. And then she gets her passion for writing again, and then she starts from the beginning. Quick summary of the other two books. I think the first novel, Emily of New Moon, was just basically the opening series and the pilot mainly. So yeah, Emily Climbs is when Emily, she longs to attend Queen's Academy to earn her teaching license, but her tradition-bound relatives at New Moon refuse. So she's offered the chance to go to Shrewsbury High School with her friends on two conditions. The first, that she boards with her disliked Aunt Ruth, but the second is that causes Emily difficulties, and that Emily must not write during her high school education. At first, Emily refuses the offer, unable to contemplate a life without any writing. Cousin Jimmy changes the conditions slightly, saying that she cannot write anything that is not true, meaning that she must not write stories for the duration of her high school education. Emily does not think this is an improvement, but it turns out to be an excellent exercise for her budding writing career. And at the end of the novel, Emily, now a budding young writer, is offered the opportunity to move to New York with the famous writer Janet Royal to jumpstart her career. And after much thought and hesitation, Emily chooses to remain at her beloved New Moon, intent on finding fame her own way. And in the last book, Emily's Quest, Emily's star is now 17 and a high school graduate. The residents of New Moon consider her an adult and allow her much more freedom. Emily and Teddy Kent have been friends since childhood, and as Teddy is about to leave for 2 years to further his education as an artist, Emily believes that their friendship is blossoming into something more. On his last night at home, they vow to think of each other when they see the star Vega of the Lyre. And during the next 2 years, Emily grows as a writer and learns to deal with the loneliness of having her closest friends gone. Elsie and Teddy to Montreal, and Perry to Charlottetown. Life at New Moon changes as Mr. Carpenter, Emily's most truthful critic and favorite teacher, dies, warning Emily, even as he dies, to beware of italics. Her budding career as a writer begins to flourish to the point that the Murray clan finally accept her profession. She becomes closer to Dean Priest, even as she fears he wants love when she only has friendship to give. Worst of all, Emily and Teddy become distant as he focuses on building his career, and she hides her feelings behind pride. Years pass and it becomes accepted that Emily will be an old maid. Although there are plenty of willing suitors, Mrs. Kent sends Emily a message from Montreal before she dies, begging Emily to tell Teddy the truth about his confession of love. Emily refuses, believing Teddy no longer loves her. Perry and Elsie marry quietly. One night, Emily hears Teddy's characteristic whistle in the garden. She goes to him, and years of misunderstanding are swept away with a look. They decide to marry and forgive each other over their years of foolishness and pride. Dean, hearing of their engagement, gives the disappointed house to Emily and Teddy and promises his future friendship. And that was Emily of New Moon.
I think this show was really well done. I think it was successful in what it tried to achieve. Everything was on point, to be honest, with this show.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought, yeah, like I said, it was not a bad show at all. It had really good moments in it. It's one of those sort of sit up and curl on the sofa and either watch it or read it, and yeah, it was good in that respect. So yeah, now we have to choose between Ocean Girl and Emily of New Moon.
So I've got a split decision on this one. So if you're asking me which one did I prefer, the answer is easily Ocean Girl to Emily of New Moon. If you're asking me which one was shot better and was more successful in that one, the answer is definitely Emily of New Moon. So I don't really know where to go. I definitely preferred Ocean Girl.
So then you pick Ocean Girl then.
I'm picking Ocean Girl. Plus it was Australian, so it gets extra points.
I'm gonna go with Emily of New Moon, only because I did really like some of the moments in the first episode. There were some real gems that I thought, you can take forward in life and things of that nature. So in that sense, yeah, I thought, yeah, I'm going to go with Emily of New Moon. I thought this was a really, like you said, really well done show, really successful, and yeah, both shows were not necessarily the best shows we've done, but definitely sort of leaning towards being the good shows that we've done. So yeah, there you go. Good stuff. Main event time now, and Xena Warrior Princess. And this show came out in September 1995. And some of the things happening in the world: eBay is founded, and the trial against former Italian Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti, who's accused of mafia connection, begins. British boxer Frank Bruno beats American champion Oliver McCall in a unanimous 12-round points decision in London for the WBC heavyweight title. Seven was in the cinemas, and Fantasy by Mariah Carey was in the charts.
I think I actually know this one. That's like 1 out of 3 today.
Some Rush Hour. That's why. This
Ah,
song is always on Rush Hour with the little girl singing.
yeah. Just
The
before
car.
she gets kidnapped.
Yeah. It's I always just remember it because of that. And because Mariah Carey is an icon.
But mostly
So
Rush Hour. Let's be honest. That song, just that song.
perhaps. But obviously Mariah Carey is Mariah Carey, so
Yep.
she is bigger than Rush Hour and everything that goes with it. So yeah, big up to you, Mariah Carey. You are brilliant. So Xena, Warrior Princess. So this was a American fantasy TV series filmed on location in New Zealand. Critics have praised the series for its strong female protagonist, and it has acquired a strong cult following, attention in fandom, parody, and academia, and has influenced the direction of other television series. Writer, director, and producer Robert Tapert created the series in 1995 under his production tag Renaissance Pictures, with exec producers R.J. Stewart and Sam Raimi. And the series follows Xena, who's played by Lucy Lawless, an infamous warrior on a quest to seek redemption for her past sins against the innocent by using her formidable fighting skills to now help those who are unable to defend themselves. Xena is accompanied by Gabrielle, who's played by Renee O'Connor, who during the series changes from a simple farm girl into an Amazon warrior and Xena's comrade in arms. Her initial naivety helps to balance Xena and assists her in recognizing and pursuing the greater good. In 2012, star Lucy Lawless confirmed that her character Xena was from ancient Bulgaria, or known at the time as Thrace. So I was thinking that's Thrace. Because when people talk about old places in the world, so like Mesopotamia and Constantinople. Interesting. Thrace. The show is a spin off of the TV series Hercules The Legendary Journeys, and the saga began with 3 episodes in Hercules where Xena was a recurring character, originally scheduled to die in her 3rd appearance. Aware that the character of Xena had become very successful among the public, the producers of the series decided to launch a spin off series based on her adventures. Xena became a successful show which has aired in more than 108 countries around the world since 1998. And in 2004 and 2007, it ranked 9 and 10 on TV Guide's top cult shows ever. And the title character ranked 100 on Bravo's 100's greatest TV characters. Xena's success has led to hundreds of tie-in products, including comic books, video games, and conventions. Realized annually since 1998 in Pasadena, California, and in London. The series soared past its predecessor in ratings and in popularity, and in its 2nd season, it became the top-rated syndicated drama series on American television. Xena Warrior Princess is set primarily in a fantasy version of ancient Greece, sometimes alluding to Roman Greece, and was filmed in New Zealand. Some filming locations are confidential, but many scenes were recorded in places such as the Whitaker Ranges Regional Park, part of Auckland's regional parks, often credited at the end of the episodes. The first choice for Xena was British actress Vanessa Angel, but an illness prevented her from traveling, and the role was offered to four other actresses before the relatively unknown Lucy Lawless was given the role. Sunny Dench was cast as Gabrielle, but she did not want to leave her boyfriend in the United States, so O'Connor, who had appeared in Hercules in another role, was chosen. The ancient Greece depicted in the show is largely derived from historical locations and customs, modifying known places and events, battles, trading routes, towns, and so on to generate an attractive fictional world. The settlements are presented as a mixture of walled villages and rural hamlets set in a lush green mountainous landscape. They are often seen under attack from warlords, and traveling between them involves frequent encounters with small bands of outlaws. All of the main towns are named after historic towns of ancient Greece and exhibit some of their essential characteristics. Amphipolis is the birthplace of Xena. Potidaea is the birthplace of Gabrielle. Athens, birthplace of Joxa. Corinth, Delphi, and Syra is the birthplace of Callisto, which was burnt to the ground by Xena's army. And as the show progressed, events took place throughout more modern times and places, from Cleopatra's Alexandria to Julius Caesar's Rome. The mythology of the show transitioned from that of the Olympian gods to include Judeo Christian elements. Eastern religions were touched on as well, with little regard to accurate time and place concerns. One episode, The Way, which loosely interpreted elements of Hinduism as major plot points, generated controversy, requiring the producers to add a disclaimer at the head of the episode and a tag explaining the episode's intention at its end. Mythological and supernatural locations are presented as equally real physical places, often accessed through the physical portals hidden in the landscape, such as lakes and caves. They include the Elysian Fields, Tartarus, and the River Styx, Valhalla, Heaven, and Hell. The inhabitants of such places, gods, mythological beings, and forces, are for the most part manifested as human characters who can move at will between their domains and the real world. Ares, the Greek god of war, for instance, is an egotistical man who wears a studded black leather, and Aphrodite, goddess of love, is California Valley Girl, who uses typical Valley Girl slang and dresses in flowing, translucent pink gowns. In addition to Greece, Xena and Gabrielle visit many countries during their travels, including Italy, usually referred to by its capital Rome, China, usually called Chin, Japan, known as Japa, Great Britain, known as Britannia, India, Siberia, Egypt, called the Land of the Pharaohs, Sahara is Morocco, and several Scandinavian countries called Norseland. And yeah, and this was to remain in keeping with the ancient world and avoid using modern names. So, Xena, Warrior Princess.
I used to love this when I was growing up. I used to love this TV show. I used to watch it with the whole family. I even had the video game, and I've just flicked up a video of it on YouTube now just to remember the gameplay. And in the first episode, there's a giant that's been blinded, and you actually get to blind that giant as one of the bosses in one of the episodes. So one of the levels. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I thought this was a pretty cool episode. So cool TV show. I'm going to turn it off because that's actually distracting me now. And yeah, I thought it was like some obviously completely driven by female characters who kick ass all the way through the series. I had no idea it was a spin-off though. I didn't watch any of the Hercules sort of stuff. I'm not sure if you did.
Yeah, I did watch Hercules. That was where I knew Xena from. It was yeah, I kind of knew her from Hercules, and it was one of those where I knew Hercules and I watched it, and then I knew Xena, and then I watched Xena as well. I think this has come on Channel 5. This is one of those Channel 5 early kind of like shows that they kind of picked up on and they showed. Yeah, I liked it, and as I was saying at the beginning of the show, her cry was annoying after hearing it so many times. I didn't think it was so part of her conversation.
Did Lucy Lawless do that cry, or was it added in afterwards? Do we know?
I think she did it. Why
I mean,
would
that's
anybody else do it?
because I mean, that's a hard note to reach. I'm sure for
It's
anyone.
not that hard, I don't think. I think it's a perfectly high note to reach. But no, I thought this was a pretty good show. It's quite weird that Lucy Lawless wasn't the first choice to be Xena, but she is Xena Warrior Princess, and you know what? It's so crazy because you can imagine the producers thinking, you know what? Look at all these people after Hercules. So obviously, you're thinking Hercules is a big, strong man. Nothing can beat Hercules, and this guy's gonna win us the ratings. And they're probably thinking, oh, Xena. So they're getting all these fan mail going, oh my god, we love Xena, we love Xena. Do a show on Xena, and they're thinking, oh, okay, go on then, we'll do Xena. And it ended up like wiping Hercules to the ground, really, in terms of ratings.
I mean, it was like proper cheesy at times. With with the script and the stuff that's going on and the way it's delivered. But I mean, it's cool, man. Like it's you don't mind that sort of thing when it's in the right context, and I think it was perfect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's one of those things where sometimes this is when the spin-off is like, oh, it's beautiful, it's great. It kind of worked, and Xena kind of took a life of its own, really, and it became a much bigger program than I think Hercules was there and whatever, but compared to Xena, like Xena kind of like went straight to the moon, really.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely watched it. I'm just trying to look up now if I actually saw. No, and I'm looking at the TV show stuff, and I can 100% say that I never watched Hercules.
The pilot, I believe, was called Sins of the Past.
Oh yeah, it was, yeah. I didn't write down the name of the episode. I was trying to figure it out. So I watched episode 1 of series 1 and the last episode of series 1 as well. Called something about is there a doctor in the house? So episode 1, she has so basically it's one thing I didn't know. Xena was a baddie as well. I didn't know this. I didn't know this about her. So flashbacks of fighting. Everyone's chanting her name, and now she's in the village. Kids, comes across this kid in the village, and it says Xena killed my parents. I was a bit like brutal. She takes off the armor and weapons and buries them, and so basically she's trying to kind of reconcile her past. She doesn't want to
This
be
little
this.
boy's a lying little git. You need to say that too, because obviously because he's like to her, oh, do you have any food spare? And obviously she's like, yeah, there's no food spare. And then he like unveils something, and he sees that this big block of cheese he's got in his mouth.
I didn't see that bit.
I was like, you lying little git.
So so a man comes and he's going to kidnap all the girls, or
I can't believe he didn't spot Xena, because they're all coming in, and she's like literally like half hiding in the bushes. I'm like, I can see your ass.
I was watching this Turkish drama yesterday, and these what they called the Crusaders are hiding in the bushes, right, in their bright white tunics and their massive red crosses on. I was like, at any point, if someone goes, guys, should we wear some green to blend in a little bit more? Just like beacons hiding in the bushes. So he comes and kidnaps the girls, and then she basically takes out this entire army with her war cry. I think it's Arabian-esque. You disagree. So basically, then she finds the weapons again, and then she's to the leader. She goes, "You're with Draco." Xena says hello, and then she bashes him up. So the village wants her to go. She goes to the village. They want her to go because they know who she is. Gabrielle is there. Is where you first meet her, and she's saying that she wants her to stay, but then she says, "All right, I'll go with you," kind of thing. And then the baddies goes to the baddies camp, and they're shooting some arrows in this guy, and he's like catching all the arrows. And then Xena comes in, and this guy turns out to be Draco. So she asks for a favor, and she says, "Can you spare that village?" And then he says, "I'll spare it if you join me," kind of thing. And she says, "Like, do one," kind of thing. And he either wants her as a lover, or he wants her as to kill her in the battlefield. Basically, that's the two things he wants to do. Back at the village, Gabrielle's sneaking out because she wants to be a warrior. So she leaves. Xena's on the road and she comes across a bridge. The horse gets spooked and the giant comes out and it's blind. This is what I was talking about. In the game, you actually fight this giant and you blind him with your little disc thing. She ends up knocking him over and getting past him. I kind of felt sorry for the giant. I'm not sure if you felt the same. I felt felt like he was a nicer character than thing. Anyway, back into the baddies. They're going to march onto Anthropolis and burn everything but in Xena's name. So she's going to go to her hometown. They're going to go to her hometown and say, Xena told us to come burn everything. So Gabrielle gets captured by the giant, but she kind of tricks it into letting her go. She says, I'll bring Xena's eyes to you and I'll kill her for you. So he lets her go. Anyway, so Gabrielle's in this field laying down and then she wants a lift. It turns out she's a bit of a blagger. So she's trying to blag her way onto this ride. And she goes, oh, I'm with this guy. This guy's my dad, and he goes, oh, the horse breeder. Turns out there's no horse breeders in this town. She gets caught out, but she still gets a lift. Xena comes to a village and she sees her mum. Her mum draws a sword on her and no one likes her. Everyone's disowned her and they want her to go. The baddies are marching on a village and the villain guy throws a knife at... Oh, so the villain guy throws a knife at Draco, but basically Draco just kind of like does him in. Xena wants to be good, but no one believes her. Gabrielle comes to her defense and says, like, she's good now, like, to the whole village. She goes to this temple or crypt where her dad's buried, and then the baddies come to the village, and they say, like, the village have grouped together, got all their loot together, and said, look, you can have this, just don't kill us. And every time you're in the area, we'll supply your soldiers with food. And they said basically no. And they said, all I want is Xena to come join us. And she says, I won't join you. And then he says, you have to have a fight. The first one to hit the floor loses and gets killed. And they have a fight, like kind of like a gladiators fight with staffs. Then Draco, after a big fight, Draco hits the ground. And then Xena says, look, I won't get you killed, but if you have to leave and take all your soldiers with you. Mum's now happy with her. They accept her. Xena has to go on an adventure and Gabrielle joins her. And that was the first episode of season 1, and the next one I watched was the last episode of season 1.
I did like how when Gabrielle was trying to run away,
and she makes a noise.
So obviously she kind of decided, not the noise, but it's like when she decides that, look, this village life, I'm not about this life. And I like her sister or whatever is like, oh, even I can beat you up. What are you talking about? I want to be a warrior.
Yeah, exactly. He goes, yeah, but you're big for your age.
I like how she tricks a giant as well. That was very clever.
Yeah, I thought, but it kind of just made me feel even more sorry for the giant.
I did like Gabrielle. She's my favorite sidekick in terms of like all this, every superhero needs a sidekick. I liked Gabrielle. I thought she was one of her favorites. And obviously in the end, Xena's telling her, look, this life is going to be trouble. But obviously Gabrielle's like, I got your back, sis. I got you. So yeah, good stuff. And then the last episode I watched was the finale, which was almost 2 hours long. So
oh wow, okay. So this was just another 45-minute one. So this one is there a doc in the house? So Xena and her sidekick Gabrielle are heading somewhere. I've written that wrong, but it's basically the baddies have injured this woman and she's preggers. This bit was like really super cheesy. So the sidekick's called Gabrielle. So I thought this was the first episode. That's my reason my notes might be a bit skew here. So, and then I went back and watched episode 1. So Xena goes to find a safe place for this woman to give birth, and she comes across an army. She takes out the soldier with her disc, and then she finishes him. She proper finishes him with a sword, though. Like I thought it was more violent than I remember. And then she takes the woman to this temple. And she also has one of the baddies as like a prisoner. She gives her a pep talk, and then she has a go at the priest. So basically, she walks into this thing where the priest says, like, you go away, we've got this covered, we're going to pray for these people's health, right? But they don't know a thing about medicine. And then she waltzes into this place and she kind of takes over. And I can see why this would ruffle some feathers. And then she kind of starts to like heal people she knows a lot about this medicine. It turns out Gabrielle's a bard and she can tell stories. The priest is going to kick her out. He comes with the soldiers, but and it ended up so that she can stay. So this man has a gangrene leg and Xena has to cut it off. Man asks Gabriel to get his little boy because he's outside and he's hiding. She she literally next scene she's back in to the temple, but she's injured. The pregnant woman comes for someone. Oh yeah, she's literally like giving birth at this point. Like she's in labor, and she's walking around like she's like, oh, at one moment she's like, oh, I'm the most immobile, helpless person in the world, and then she's walking around. So basically, the war has kind of now shifted up to this point, and the people are kind of coming in. So they're trying to evacuate. The priest's son gets shot. Everyone's evacuating. The temple's being destroyed. The general man, who's her prisoner, might have to deliver the baby, and then the baby. And then he goes, "Oh, that was a strong kick." And I was like, "The babies don't really kick during the pushing bit." And then they do like a C-section on this woman. So she's a nurse, a surgeon, a midwife, and a psychologist so far, and an A&E doctor. And then it's a fairly realistic newborn, but it's like a centaur. It's like a goat or something, half of something with hooves on its bottom half. Soldiers are in the temple. And so the soldiers kind of storm the temple, and the general who's in there as a prisoner says, "Look, stop! I'm ending the war. Everything's kind of changed my mind watching people do, what people are doing here." And he sends the soldiers away and says, "Tell everyone to stop fighting." And then Gabrielle is like dying, and then Xena gives her mouth to mouth, and she's kind of hitting her chest like, "Why did you die? Why did you die?" And then it makes her come back alive, and then everyone's happy, and that was the end of that episode.
So yeah, the finale, which was a two-parter called "A Friend in Need." So yeah, this was like hour 40, hour 50 minutes, and yeah, so Xena and Gabrielle are wondering what they should do next, and they're thinking, you know what, we should go to the land of the pharaohs, which is obviously Egypt. And there's a messenger who wants to speak to Xena, and it's a message from Akimi. So yeah, so obviously Gabrielle's like, yeah, who's Akimi? And then obviously they're telling the story of when the messenger's telling the story of him and his monk friend getting into trouble, and they come across the Lord of Darkness who steals their soul away from them. And then Akimi is telling the monk to go and find Xena and to go and get her ASAP. So they have to go to the land of the rising sun, Japa, or Japan. And this is where it's all happening. And Xena is telling Gabrielle, look, I know you want to go to the land of the pharaohs, but I have to go and sort this out. And Gabrielle's like, I'm going to come with you. So yeah, Xena's telling Gabrielle about the time she went to Japa for the first time and met with Akimi. And obviously it turns into a fight, as always. And Xena taught Akimi how to fight. And Akimi gives Xena a note talking about how much she sort of appreciates her for everything she's done. But Xena's like, yeah, I don't like her. She hurt me deeply, whatever. And Akimi's taking Xena to a cold grave, and she's talking to her grandfather from beyond the grave somehow. And Akimi's like, basically, look, in order to win your battles, you're going to need a katana sword. But Xena's like, yeah, I'm good with my sword. But Akimi's like, yeah, if you don't have a katana sword, then you're not going to go very far. Xena is teaching Akimi the pinch, which is her best move. And obviously Gabrielle is furious. She's like, how can you teach this girl the pinch? Your biggest move. You ain't even taught me how to do the pinch. And the Lord of Darkness is telling Akimi that he's gonna get to Xena before she can come to her. And so they're burning Higuchi to the ground. So Xena and Gabrielle get there in time and they release water and the city is saved. And Xena's remembering when Akimi used the pinch to murder her own dad because apparently he did some bad stuff and he killed everybody in the village. And she's like, yes, I have avenged him now. And then Akimi's like to Xena, you have to kill me and you have to put my ashes next to my family and to restore my honor. And so Akimi stabs herself, and then Xena kind of finishes the job and chops her head off. And obviously, people in the town are not happy to see Xena again. And obviously, they'll talk. And Xena got really, really drunk. She's trying to get the ashes, but then her family, like the people of the town, like destroyed the ashes. And there's like lots of hostility because Akemi killed her father, and Xena retaliated by destroying their hometown by accident, of course. And Xena wants to make amends, and Xena wants to teach Gabrielle everything she knows. So she wants to teach Gabrielle the pinch. And obviously, with the pinch, you have 30 seconds to live. And in those 30 seconds, Xena's like to Gabrielle, look, this is what I want to look at if I had 30 seconds to live. I love you. And yeah, this is you mean a lot to me, and this is what I want to tell you. And then obviously lets go of the hold. And everyone's preparing for the big battle. And Xena is basically getting struck with arrows. So this Yutoshi and his army are proving to be too much for Xena. And she's getting struck with arrows left, right, and center. And she's like on the brink of death. And she's basically still fighting as she gets to Yutoshi. And then, boom! Yutoshi knocks her out. And Xena is dead. And then she's reunited with Akemi in the underworld. And Gabrielle doesn't believe that Xena could be dead because she can like hear Xena's name being called out. And the Lord of Darkness is summoned and he's going after Xena. And now Xena is in the power of the Dark Lord, but she's like, yeah, I'm only in the power so that I can get to Yotoshi. And Xena runs into Gabrielle somehow, even though she's technically dead. And she tells that she's going to kill the Lord of the Dark Lands. Xena tells Gabrielle that she's dead and that she has to kill Yutoshi to restore all of the lost souls. Gabrielle finds out that there might be a way to save Xena, but it'll be at the risk of her own life. And Gabrielle's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So she has to go and find Xena's body and take it to Mount Fuji. And she has to go through Yutoshi first, manages to apprehend him, and gets to Xena's head and her corpse. And Xena is basically trying to attack the Lord of Darkness and manages to subdue him. And Xena must go to Mount Fuji to release the souls. And Akemi tells Xena that if Gabrielle succeeds, that she will be sacrificed. So Akemi's basically telling Xena what Gabrielle is doing. So Xena's trying to get there so that Gabrielle doesn't do this. And Yutoshi catches up with Gabrielle at Mount Fuji. And the Lord of Darkness gets to the fountain. And there's basically a fountain. So you have to drink from the fountain and then you can release all the souls or whatever. Gabrielle catches up with Xena. But then the Lord of Darkness is basically like swallowing everything in his path. And so basically Gabrielle has this tattoo on her back that Akemi drew on her before going to Mount Fuji. And the tattoo basically helps Gabrielle. She gives the water to Xena, and Xena's restored. And they have to try and find Xena's ashes before sundown. Xena finally takes out the Lord of Darkness, and Gabrielle takes out Yutoshi. Xena has redeemed herself and everybody else, and all of the souls are redeemed. Xena tells Gabrielle that she can't be revived, otherwise, the souls redeemed would be lost. So Gabrielle has to go on without Xena, and she's telling Gabrielle, do you know what? You're going to the land of the Pharaoh, so you should go. Obviously, if you lot ain't seen Xena, then you should know that, yeah, Xena dies. Xena does not make it to the end.
I didn't know that.
Well, now you know.
That sounds like quite a decent last episode, though, to be honest.
Yeah, it was very lots of stuff going down, big action, and yeah, Gabrielle is gonna go travel without Xena. I would like to see a Gabrielle spin-off show, if I'm being honest with you. I liked her enough to the point where I would be invested in a Gabrielle special. or not special, but like a spin-off. See what she gets up to in life. See what she gets up to in life, and see what's good. So, any last thoughts on Xena?
No, I mean it's just like I thought it was pretty cool. I liked it when I was a kid. I liked it again now. It's super cheesy. But if that's your cup of tea, then you're gonna really enjoy it. I think it's done pretty well. The action scenes are pretty well choreographed, and yeah, I thought it held up, which is quite surprising considering how old it was and the sort of thing it was doing.
Yeah, yeah, I did think it held up. Yeah, it was very corny. I do agree with that. Really corny at times. But yeah, I like corny. I like cheesy. So I didn't have too much problems with that. And yeah, Lucy Lawless, badass, great Xena the Warrior Princess. Could not have seen it with anybody else. Gabrielle again was really good. Really liked her character. One of my faves. So yeah, all in all, really, really good show. Gets 2 thumbs up from me. On that note, we're bringing this episode to an end. Yesterday's Capers is available wherever you get your podcast from. So make sure you have your notifications on when new episodes are downloaded. Obviously, I've sliced up and chopped up the chat that we had about Sarah Everard and Harry and Meghan. So you can find those on our social media channels. And yeah, you can find us on Instagram at Yesterday's Capers 1. On Twitter, it's Yesterday Capers. It's youtube.com/Yesterday's Capers. It's facebook.com/Yesterday's Capers. You can find me on the socials. On Instagram, it's Abdullah_Moallim. On Twitter, it's Abdullah Moallim, all one word. Give me a follow and join us next time for another episode of Yesterday's Capers.